Welcome, guys. Welcome to Top Wisdom. This is the greatest decision you have ever done in your life. It's the greatest decision you have ever done in your life. Today, we're going to talk about the novel Tsotsi. Maybe you might have watched my previous videos about this novel, which I've made. I've made a summary, I've explained the characters. Now, we are going to even more and more advanced knowledge. So, if you didn't watch those videos, I've left a link to the description. I would just say go watch them now, step by step, watch them all. Then you can come here. I promise that if you watch them all and come here, obviously you will understand everything. But now I'm giving you the rest of the knowledge, which is the 30% that is left. The other videos contribute to 70% and this one to 30%. So now we're at the novel, which is Tsotsi. We are going to the main themes. So without wasting any time, I'm beginning. Apartheid, a system that led to a moral social decline. Tsotsi views the world as an ugly place where living is difficult, so people merely survive. This is a world where decent people are killed, gumboot, and those who question morality, Boston, are punished. The purpose of the apartheid South Africa was a segregated race to establish white superiority. All people of color had few. All the people of color had to have a passbook on their person at all time. Passbook raids were a regular occurrence. Township had very few amenities. One tap is a water works square. No flush toilets, no electricity. Demolition squads destroyed homes to ensure that there was a safe no man's land between the white suburbs and the townships. Characters like Morris and Gambut represent those who come from the rural areas in search of work. The novel exposes the true evil that flourished in the darker purpose of apartheid. Tsotsi and the gang lived impoverished lives in the township. They resort to crime to survive. They are thugs who commit violent crimes with indifference. The poor socio-economic situation due to effects of apartheid is clearly portrayed. Violence, crime, and poverty, all from part of township, all are affected. Some are perpetrators, Tsotsi and his gang. Some are victims, Maurice and Miriam Gambut. Appointment. David Tsotsi, which is Tsotsi, his real name is David actually. If you watch the previous videos, you understand that. If you didn't, obviously you are confused. David, which is Tsotsi, is forced to live on the street at the age of 10 and he adopts a life of crime in order to survive. His abandonment is triggered by a police raid. His mother is taken away from him and he flees his abusive drunk father. The baby given to Tsotsi in blue gum trees is forsaken by its mother. Guilt. Boston feels guilty, shame and regret when the gang kills Gambut Lamin. The mother who gives Tsotsi her baby appears to feel shame and regret at abandoning her child. Tsotsi feels guilty after beating up Boston, even though he only recognizes the guilt much later. Fear. The gang instills fear wherever they go. Isaiah described them as no good loafers, scum who killed, wicked. Boston fears Tsotsi, Morris fears Tsotsi. Tsotsi affirms his identity by the fear he instills in others. Hope. Boston and the baby are catalysts in the Tsotsi's life. The author shows that there is hope for a person who is an anti-hero. Tsotsi saves the baby. He shows mercy to Maurice. He puts the gang behind him and finds Boston. He talks to the Isaiah about God. He allows himself to hope for a better future and to be positively influenced. Survival. At the beginning of the novel, survival is attained in a savage and animalistic way. To survive, Tsotsi kills innocent people in order to get money. As the story develops, so does the theme of survival. It becomes less of physical survival and shifts to an emotional and spiritual survival. Not only does Tsotsi save himself but others too. He gives them hope In saving others, Tsotsi saves himself and his conscience. Examples are shown through the secondary character Maurice and Boston and Miriam. When Tsotsi lets Maurice leave after hours of stalking him, he saved Maurice from his ultimate fear of death, saves his own kind-hearted personality, taking one step closer to becoming his old self, David. After beating him only 2 days before because he asked questions, Tsotsi saves Boston from death by nourishment, like a mother figure. Along with taking care of a man, Tsotsi asks questions of Boston about life. Tsotsi has abandoned one of his roles that made him the thug he is. These actions show that Tsotsi is becoming a new man, regaining and saving his soul. Refogard wants us to understand that the survival is not only your physical presence but the mental state of yourself. You can be alive, but your respect for others, positive attitude and kindness, hardness is dismissed, then you are dead as a soul. Redemption and mercy. At the outskirts of the novel, Tsotsi is in a state of sin with his gang, but through interaction with others, he can redeem himself to a young and innocent boy. He once was. David, the mercy he shows Maurice is described as the miracle of sharing in another man's suffering. He recognizes that he is moving into a light and finding compassion in the hollow of its radiance. Maurice reminds Tsotsi that mothers love their children. Through caring for Boston, Tsotsi asks him questions pertaining to life in general. This nurturing and discussion allowed Tsotsi redeem himself not only in Boston but himself. Boston now knows Tsotsi is trying to fix himself and become a better person, therefore regaining respect for him. It is clear that the change in Tsotsi is governed by the godly force. Since Boston told Tsotsi is looking for God, Tsotsi goes to the church and finds Isaiah. Through their interaction, Tsotsi learns more of God and what he and Christianity can do for a person. Tsotsi agreed to return to the church later for a session. This showed Tsotsi moving away from his state of sin and again moving closer to become David. Through this interaction, Tsotsi is walking the road of redemption and becoming David. The final act of redemption is when Tsotsi attempts to save the baby at the end of the novel. At the beginning of the novel, Tsotsi was a life taker, and by the end he moves to a lifesaver, showing us the full cycle of redemption. The author wants us to learn that although you may commit acts that are uncivil or incorrect, you can always redeem yourself if you choose to so. Tsotsi made the choice to interact with the people he did. He wanted to become David, for God knows if it's possible for him, it is for anyone. Decency. Knowing right from wrong, upholding morals, values instilled by positive role models as a child. Living by society moral code, taking responsibility for one's action. Boston speaks about decency as having empathy for another human being. Kampu Dlamini is an example of a decent person. We are first introduced to the decency at the beginning of the novel when Tsotsi beats up Boston because Boston asks him questions about decency, referring to Tsotsi having none. Tsotsi doesn't know how to answer and he feels insecure, which causes him to lash out on Boston. Violence like this, along with killing, is what Tsotsi and his gang to lose their decency altogether. Boston later points out that they have become sick from the lifestyle that they have participated in lacking decency. As the story progresses, Tsotsi learns he can attain decency in his life. He learns this again through the seminal moments throughout the novel. Maurice is a huge interaction for Tsotsi. As the two talk and eventually Tsotsi allows Maurice to leave. Tsotsi does this because he recognizes that Maurice too has valuable life and this is an anonymous step in attaining decency towards others. Tsotsi also attains decency in his life, although another person important moment remembering his past. When Tsotsi takes in the full memory of the boy he used to be, he remembers what his life was like before he turned into savage. Although his memory may not have been the most positive, it gives him target of who he needs to become. Again, and this person is Descent. Fugard wants us to learn that even the most lost, darkest human can turn their life around and become a new person with new values. Inner darkness. Tsotsi is a gangster without conscience. He shows a remorse in orchestrating, by the way, orchestrating Kamput's murder. He feels no empathy when beating up Boston and intending to kill Maurice. He is evil and driven by the inner darkness. He threatens Miriam's child. His inner darkness dissipates as the novel progresses. Identity. Using the name Tsotsi reflects the title of convention in a life of crime. The young David Mandondo blots out the personal identity original given to him through his mother's nature. Care as Tsotsi, he represses disturbing memories of his past as a way of coping. His new identity is forged by his new lives, circumstances, and by associates, the township gangsters. He rejects his past and allows his inner darkness to direct him in choosing the jobs for the gang. However, the baby is thrust into his arm and is a turning point in his life. The baby provides an opportunity to rediscover his original innocent self. He even gives the baby his old name. But in order to recover the young David, he has discarded Tsotsi an inhuman way of life. He needs to forge a new path in order to become David once again. Thus, after losing David, he rediscovers him. He needs to deal with the trauma and pain of his youth and leave horrible memories behind him in order to reclaim his name. At the end of the novel, we are told that he says out loud with joyous laugh, "My name is David Mandondo," and it is David Mandondo's, not Tsotsi, who says, "Peace be with you," in reply to the milkman greeting, "Peace, my brother." Finally, it seems that Tsotsi is no more and David is back. Religion. Religion is a major theme throughout the entire novel. Almost every event relates back to Christianity in some way. The baby represents the newborn baby Jesus. He brings innocence and peace to Tsotsi. Miriam represents the Virgin Mary. She loves and cares about everyone, which is why she wants to keep David. Kamput, Lamini, funeral leads to the pastor to question his faith. Boston is the first person to mention the Tsotsi that if he seeks redemption, he must seek God. Isaiah plays a pivotal role in directing Tsotsi's focus towards God. Maurice's simple appreciation of nature also relates back to the Christian creation of God. With Tsotsi's death, we accept that his soul has been saved. So this is all you need to know about the main theme of the story novel Tsotsi. So if you didn't watch the previous video, as I've told you, I advise you to go now and watch them. It's very, very beneficial, guys. It's very, very important as it offers most important information. So guys, don't forget to subscribe and like the video and share the video. It's very important so that you can get more videos soon enough. I do many novels and I do poem summaries. It's very important that you guys subscribe. This could save your whole life. As you know, education is the key to success. Peace.